Hi, this is Rubics from the instructor's perspective, and in this I'll just share with you a few things. I want to talk about why we should use rubrics, what are some of the advantages of using them, the disadvantages, and then ask the question, do the advantages of rubrics outweigh the disadvantages? Let's look at some of the advantages of using rubrics. You'll read some of these in the literature that I gave you to read, but they include requiring the instructor to think about what they really want the student to do and to what level they want them to do it. A lot of times, speaking from my perspective as an instructor for over 25 years, I know that I would give an assignment and I expected the students to complete the assignment, and then I would have a lot of questions from students. Well, what about this? What about that? What about something else? And often I really hadn't thought about those questions. It just hadn't come to mind. But when I use a rubric, I tie that rubric to my objectives for that assignment, and because of that, I'm able to give them more complete information. I'm able to think more thoroughly about what it is that I want the students to do and to what level I want them to be able to do it. So that is a very big advantage of using rubrics. It removes some of the subjectivity from grading. I have very specific things. If you do this, you get this grade. If you do this, you get this grade. And so it's not, my grading is not as subjective, and it's easier. Also, once I've created one rubric, I can use that across multiple assessments and across multiple courses. For example, if I've created a discussion rubric, I might be able to use that discussion rubric on every discussion I use in I have this semester in my course. Use it again next semester, use it in multiple courses. So once you've spent the time to create it, you can use it again. And if you need to tweak it a little bit, they're usually pretty easy to modify to fit for other courses or other assessments once they've been well designed. Some of the disadvantages of rubrics is that it does take time to develop properly, especially in the beginning when you're just learning to use rubrics. I fought learning for a long time because I didn't see the benefit of them until I was actually in my doctoral studies, and they used rubrics heavily in my classes, and I realized how much having that rubric helped me as a student. And so I thought, well, if it helps me this much, then it probably will help my students. So I took the time to learn to develop them. I'm not perfect, but they do help my students. If a rubric's not properly designed, they can constrain the student rather than guide the student. It's really easy to put too much in that rubric so that you're telling them you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do something else. And again, one of the readings addresses this. And then students lose all their creativity in that because it's just, now you are telling them exactly what to do. And that's what a lot of people feel rubrics do, is just tell the students what to do. And that's not what we want to do. We want to guide the students, because that's our job as an instructor, is guide our students in the learning. And then using the wrong type of rubric can confuse students. So you have to make sure you're using the right types, referring back to last week when we learned about the types of rubrics that are out there. So, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? In my opinion, yes, they do. Time spent in developing a quality rubric can reduce the time needed to grade. Quality rubrics can provide a higher level of feedback to your students with far less effort on your part. When students use rubrics as a guide in completing their work, you'll get better quality work, which again reduces grading time. There's less opportunity for the student to say, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to include that, or I didn't understand the assignment, those types of things that we often hear from our students. Those are all advantages to me. The main disadvantage I see in using rubrics is that a poorly designed rubric can lead to frustration on the part of both students and instructor, and I probably should have added that a poorly designed rubric can constrain the student, thus constraining creativity and therefore learning. So in conclusion, rubrics, when properly designed and used, can guide the instructor in creating high-quality assessments and lead to greater student success.